Good morning. This is the House Appropriations Committee. It's Wednesday, March 18th, 2026. It's just after 10 a.m. And we are going to get the sort of the latest iteration of the priorities that each of us has given to James. It's anonymized. I feel like that it's a word. It's a funny word. Not atomized, but anonymized, which means your names are not on it. Nobody's names are on it, but you can see how they are. So James, do you want to just pass those out? And then if you haven't emailed it to Dave, if you could email it. Dave.
Yes,
These are not
email that right now.
Thank you.
At this point, they are just our sheets. Monetized but anonymized. It's like a crossword.
Very good. The Scrabble word.
Yeah.
In the game.
Oh. Maybe the agenda change for a bit. Is that just back by half an hour or something? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. So H 558, which we talked about before, why we have to keep checking the agenda. The Senate's going to be on the floor at 11, so our Ledge Council needs to be on the floor at 11. So we're going to do. It says 11:30. Did you change it?
Yeah, that's 11.
Oh, I thought she was coming earlier.
At 11.
Oh, I see. I thought I was going in the wrong direction. So it's now at 11:30 instead of 11.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So mostly this is sort of an opportunity to make sure yours is right. I'm sure you'll all recognize your own, whatever yours is, but also sort of see where you are tiers 1, 2, and 3. And I went over this a little bit last night, and I was delighted to see how much commonality there was. It's not 100%, but there's all have many things in common. It's nice. So, if you have any observations on that, do you have the other one ready to put up?
Yes, I'm joining the Zoom now and I can pull it up on the screen behind me.
So we'll look again. James had done a sort of a ranking of number of votes kind of thing and how it looked based on ours, and it was not complete when he did it a couple days ago, and now it's complete. So I wanted to give everybody a sense of what that looks like. And then it also has the whether it was tier 1, 2, or 3, which to some extent matters less. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. This is James Duffy, Joint Fiscal. As the chair said, you have in front of you your updated submissions for the ranking exercises. I've received some tweaks from several of you over the last several days. So this is anonymized, but you'll all recognize which one is yours on this sheet. So please do take a look and touch base with me today if you see any corrections to be made. But what I have in front of and behind me are the results of the prioritization exercise that should be correct within maybe a vote here or two. But if I hear from any of you today with updates to your submission, this will be tweaked, but this is final. Like I said, within perhaps a vote here or there. So what I have behind me are the proposals in the order of appropriation proposals in the order of the unweighted votes they received, right? So you all voted on different uses for funds in FY27 based on tier 1, 2, or 3. I'm working with the chair to prepare sheets you all that will show kind of the weighted score for those results, right? Maybe apply a multiplier to things that were voted on in tier 1. But behind me is just the ranked order of what got the number of raw votes across the tiers for the different appropriations.
So we should look at this for clarity, and if there are questions, so I have a question, for example, And you have the bill number, so jam safety was sort of the bill, specific bill that we had all heard, and so that was right into the top. The home health skilled nursing increase. I'm a little unclear what that is because I know we have things related to the DAs and SSAs, to home and community-based services. And I'm probably missing some, but I'm not sure how this is different or how that plays into the others. I'm just unclear. Does somebody have it stolen? Please.
For the record, all my own fiscal office. For context, my understanding is that all the different providers decided to do one consistent ask, which is 3.5%. The DA is asking 3.5%, other providers. The VNA, so this is like the VNA, this is a specific, I forget, section B3 something, it's DIVA. And it's skilled nursing, pediatric. It's like 3 particular codes and specifically the VNA and it's an increase for them on that.
So that is separate. So when we say we're interested in an increase and we're not using percentages, but an
Right.
increase for the DAs and SSAs and home and community-based services, it doesn't include that group?
Correct. They're separate from that.
Okay.
Because there are different codes in the budget, so like it might be B30, 310, right? And then
Okay.
DA might be 324 or 341, so it's different sections of the budget, so it's different asks.
Okay, and I'm guessing that not all of us knew that. Or maybe I'm the only one who didn't understand all that. But is there a way to get that list from you so we could see? So if we decide we want to do something, we don't leave out people, because I know every year we end up saying, well, the so-and-so's got left out, and it's not because we intended to leave them out, it's because we didn't know, so.
Yeah. They are, think about it, they might be part of the home and community base, but they're not part of the DAs and SSA. So I can get you a number of everything and then each pulled out.
Yes,
That
that would be really helpful.
What every 1% equals, and then you
Yeah.
pick a number and not a percent.
Right, we pick a number, not a percent. Mike. And then Dave, you're good?
Okay.
Okay, Dave.
And just to, when Chair Wood came here, she told us, I told my committee, you can't put down a cost of living increase. We can't afford that. So consequently, it didn't appear on the sheets.
Right.
Except House Healthcare did it for the DAs.
Right.
Anyway, so not for others. That explains a little bit why some were there and some weren't.
Okay. And I don't think it's ever been our intent to leave out groups. I could be wrong, but that's not my intent. Okay. So thank you, Nolan. That would be very helpful.
Should you send that to my
Just
legislative?
apologies, yeah, so I just pressed send, so it should
Oh, thank you.
be in there in a moment.
There it is, it came, thank you so much.
And the other thing you'll see is that there are different dollar amounts. So James just put them all in, and that would be for us to decide, but we know the topic, right? So we see rate increases for organizations, and that range from 1.46 to $5.8 million. And some of that may also include global commitment, not just, or may not. But anyway, that's a decision
Yes.
that's part of the conversation that we'll have.
That's exactly right. So some of those different numbers reflect genuine, different priorities of how much we spent. So Meals on Wheels, different submissions suggested $500,000 versus $1 million appropriation. Whereas some of these, particularly the global commitment items, I think there was varying submission, whether the number reflected gross, a general fund split, or if there was uncertainty on what that split is.
Thank you. Thank you, Nolan. I did have this one, but you're saying that the VNAs are included in that.
They're in that number.
They're in this one. Okay. All right. So we want to keep going down. Any questions? So, and homelessness has a various numbers in there.
There's another global commitment item, storing funding for an elder care program that was proposed for funding reduction in the FY27 GovRec. I don't have a whole lot of detail on this one for the committee, but I'm sure folks who prioritize this highly speak with.
Is there somebody or a couple people that can explain that a bit more than just the elder care part? Dave, are you familiar with that one?
Yes, the elder care clinician services was funded in part by Dale and in part by the Department of Mental Health. Dale did not reduce, and their governors recommend, any funding for the elder care,
Okay,
according to the commissioner. The commissioner of mental health did reduce their share with the rationale that people can go to Medicaid, counselors who can bill Medicaid
Mhm.
to get their services in lieu of the elder care clinician, which was attached, still is attached to the area agencies on aging. Does that help? So
okay. So the
It's hard.
work would be shifted to somebody else? And would they be getting paid any extra?
Theoretically.
for shifting? Okay.
theoretically, yeah.
Wayne?
Would there be any less service, any less provided to the elder one way or the other?
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I question whether they get the access anyways, as opposed to somebody who's dedicated to do elder care and referred from the area agency and aging case managers.
Right.
The way I saw Mr. Iacovoni, it might be good to call, et cetera, as opposed to me picking up the phone and saying, oh, Wayne's a counselor in Williamstown, I'll call him.
My concern is, we do a lot with kids. We spend a lot of money on food and stuff and everything else. It seems to me that we kind of neglect the elderly somewhat.
Yeah.
And I think that's if that's true, that's my feeling. I don't have the data that proves it, but that's my feeling, and I don't think that's right. Get
Right.
all the elderly we have. these
Right.
days.
And growing. None of us is getting any younger either.
it's in our best interest.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I talked with providers and they have said that if this money is not available, they cannot, they will be asked to provide them for free. Based on the contracts that they have and whether this service is included or not. And so.
So that's helpful to get that understanding. Let me see if there's some other. Access, prevent child abuse. It came under a couple different names, but now we have it together. Advance Vermont, who says that? No,
Well,
it's
it's
not,
education.
it's, well, I
It's
thought it was,
Preparing high school
excellent.
students
Yeah.
with a plan. It's
Right.
It's a lot of guidance and preparation.
Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
A non-degree certificate.
Right.
Or grants.
A lot of what we want to do in commerce, we're trying to get people to get certificates that otherwise you wouldn't, right?
We did fund this in commerce,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's I think it was a piece that was part of DSAC.
I don't believe it's DSAC.
No.
It's not
No,
DSAC.
no, it's separate.
It's completely separate, and I'm hearing mixed things around the building about it, so I'm gonna do a little more digging on that one.
Take a look at, because I think there were things like CDLs, other kinds of certifications that they could get with what was intended for originally, right? Because he and I were together on the committee.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's a little more digging I want to do on that one to understand, because I know it comes up every year. And I think, is there something in the budget already for this?
No.
There's zero in the budget?
Zero.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's good to know. So the 211, there were two parts to it. There was about 98,000, 92, 95,000, right? To do this, not full circle,
Full, yeah, it's,
Sorry.
full.
closed loop
Thank you.
referral, yes, thank you. Thank you. You knew what we were talking about. So that was the part that they were looking at using the HIT fund. Well, they actually at one point was looking at using the whole amount, but we can't do that.
And we can't use the
Right,
Yeah.
right. So that part is going to be addressed elsewhere that's not in the budget,
Right.
the closed loop referral part. And so the question is what is left that they are looking for? Because I think that
It's-
332 was a,
Well, 332 though has a general fund and a global commitments.
but does that also
Fair.
include the closed loop
No,
referrals? part
it
of
doesn't. That was not an official ask.
Oh, that
and
was
It wasn't
added
even in
in.
the healthcare committee's ask,
Okay.
actually. So the general fund, is what, it's 100.
Is that the 140 or, do you know what the general fund is for that?
But the submissions that identified a general fund global commitment split identified the 140 as general fund, and then with the total ask with global commitment
Okay.
and general fund being 332,000.
Okay. All right.
The back of my mind, I thought I remembered testimony on this. I thought at some point there was a call center for this, that, or I thought it was who, they said that they couldn't refer to people after a certain period of time, but they didn't want running after.
Used to be.
Time period at night.
I just have that.
Yeah.
And
Yes, have just this one.
if we cut this money doesn't really pay for that overnight. It's not like you can just divide the day into equal shifts, because they get the bulk of their calls from 4 p.m. till 10. Yeah, and in order to actually continue to staff that, the need is for that full 332 and general fund global commitment. Yeah.
To staff that busy time, not the overnight when.
So I just want
Yeah.
Yes.
clarification that
Right.
we recognize what they.
Yes. Yes, yes. Okay. The food bank has between 1 million and 3 million attached to it, so we have a variety of things there.
That had been submitted as a $5 million request from the food bank, but with 3 different buckets within it. A portion had been for the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters grant program, and 2 others had been, I believe, for different kind of like distribution and partnership models within the Vermont Food Bank Network.
And then NCRS is the conservation district, which has a variety of options being proposed by committee members. The AAA, we need to do, that was one of the ones I think, Dave, you asked about this morning. That will need to go into the budget for FY 27 because we committed to it. in the budget adjustment. Right, right. So we'll make sure that gets in the budget. Okay, so legal aid had 7 different line items for legal aid. And the first one we're seeing is the healthcare advocate. And then flood safety. So we had dam safety and flood safety, all water related. And so is this a bill, the Flood Safety Act?
No, it's passed, no, that,
Okay. It's a request to go in the budget.
yeah, but it's also part of identified with that one-time money from the emissions program.
Right,
So we can
right.
have that comes.
Right. That will be part of the larger conversation. That's okay. I just want to be sure we're clarifying
Yeah.
what things are. So it's not in a, okay. The Human Rights Commission has a bunch of different numbers. Is there any global commitment for the Human Rights Commission? Tiff, you want to say something?
No, I just am catching something, on the healthcare advocate,
Yep.
those numbers aren't right. The general fund, amount is,
110.
yeah, it's 110.
On the portion, no.
I think that
For the record, I was confusing because it's bill back NGC. So we get the bill back, which is 27.5% of the industry's agreement careful with bill back. Then we get the industry's part, and then we take that, and that becomes the general fund, NGC. So it's very confusing.
Yeah,
So I'll get you I think Christine is right, it's around 110, but we'll
Yeah.
confirm that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll need those exact numbers.
it's my understanding too. I don't know if that information was available to you all as you were going through the census sides to understand that. But yes, 110 is the latest
Okay.
number that I.
But we can see where the topic itself lands in the scheme of things. So that's good.
Back on the flood safety, FTEs, did they ask for that? Where does the request come from?
They're needing 3 FTEs.
The agencies.
What happened when Act 121 passed? The agency had asked for 18 positions. 15 positions were authorized. 11 positions were funded. So we're trying to add 3 more, trying to fund 3 of those 4 positions that weren't funded.
But,
So we need you guys to speak up, because
okay,
I can hardly hear you and nobody else can hear you.
so none of that was from the federal money, that big bunch of federal money that they were all limited terms.
This is,
This is,
these are not ARPA funds.
okay, so where did the big 13 or whatever positions, what was the impetus for those in the first place? Pot of money coming from the feds and stuff?
No, that was general fund money.
Just to
And
manage.
the 11 positions.
What was, remind us what was in the act? 121, you said?
It's Act 121. I don't know all the details of that. River corridors are involved,
Okay.
things like that. Items related to.
It sounds like more resiliency work,
Yeah, exactly.
flood resiliency kind of work.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if it's something that was, subsequent for flood purposes. And then as things get repaired and everything, that the need might be decreasing, right?
No, it's more forward looking.
It's forward, all forward
As
looking.
opposed to restoration.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Okay, and then I was asking on the Human Rights Commission, is there any global commitment in that, or is that all general funds?
I believe that's all general fund. The asks from Human Rights Commission, and maybe folks want to speak to what they had in mind when they made their submissions, but those were 3 new positions in base for a total across those 3 positions of 368,000. And then there was also requests to restore the assumed GovRec vacancy savings to their base, which would be 64,500.
So that's why we have varying amounts.
Yeah, I think this had also come through as a recommendation from House General Housing, which is why that's notated as HGH there.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. And then the ERC Tier 1, that was the other thing we did in the budget adjustment that we need to do. So Dave, there you see it. So that and the AAAs will be in the budget for this year. And then
I'll just note the 1.072 million figure that you see there is the global commitment figure, and 450.
450 was the. Right. That's why I wasn't freaking out about that. We have home share and youth council, the rental arrears program.
Rental arrears program is also carried in a bill before you all. I believe it's H772.
That's right. There are some things that are carried in bills that if we do them, we'll take them out of the bill. And that would be one of them. And then yesterday we heard the emergency management bill that had like 4 things that could come out and be one time in the budget, which would be more appropriate spot for those. So those were some other things that we've talked about, right? And then, rental arrears support the deaf and blind program that we talked about. Some AHEC for loan repayment for primary care. So we're trying to do this primary care. Go ahead, Marty.
We have the band program up above. Oh, this is radio, I'm sorry. instead of
But I
the
think
other
the
one.
part above, it depends on what the amount was, because the band request included 90,000 for community radio. So
Right,
if it was 540,
540,
then that included both. If it was 450, it was just band.
Yes, and 1 or 2 members submitted a kind of combined 540,000 recommendation, and just for the purposes of showing the separate votes for those buckets. Zach,
There's some double
if you
count.
submitted 500, no, there isn't double count. If you submitted 540,000 recommendation, I've displayed those as a vote for the 450 for Van and another vote for the 90K.
Okay,
Oh, I see.
okay. All right. And then we have the Ethics Commission, varying amounts for the FTE that we talked about yesterday, the municipal attorney. The amortization task force.
Madam Chair, I think you had noted yesterday that the HEDI committee bill 8740, the correct amount in the bill will be 400,000.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, but it's not.
It had originally been 500 and it will be corrected to 400.
So remind me what this Brattleboro Emergency Shelter is in that, Mike?
This is one of the shelters across the state that have been set up, emergency shelter. It's being set up at the Methodist Church in Brattleboro, and they need to make some accommodations to fulfill some fire and safety code issues there, so they can expand the number of people that can serve there.
Okay. Have you talked to Teresa about that at all? And what has she said?
Does she approve of it, or?
Well, or is it folded into her bill or?
No, it's not. It's been an ongoing process, first of all, because initially, fire and safety came in and said, oh, you can only have 6 people. And we said, unless the temperature goes to 10 below 0. So we applied for a waiver, and after a while, we did get a waiver. But for the long term, we need to make these accommodations. Part of the place has to be sprinklers, but I can't speak for her, but in our discussions, she certainly approves of this. I don't know that she.
Okay, so we can follow up with her also, but I'm also wondering, it would have to go to CF probably to be granted to them, and it's a private building. I'm just thinking out loud here. And so we would want some sort of a guarantee that they would continue to operate an emergency shelter, that we aren't just doing their sprinkler. So there would have to be some sort of MOU. That's guaranteed.
They are committed to this.
Yeah, but we would just need some,
Yeah.
We would always cover our bases. Wayne?
I'm just surprised it ranked so low, but, how many people would it accommodate if it was?
Well,
under code?
that we're not clear. I mean, my sense is we formerly had one at another church in Brattleboro. We used to take 30 to 40 people a night. And they have even more room at this place. The concerns about egress were really not founded. This is all on level ground, 1 floor. There's plenty of egress. The room they're using is the room between the sanctuary and another community room. It's just a real big hallway, common space. And people bring in sleeping bags and they set up on the floor there.
So it's a cold weather shelter.
It's a cold.
Not an ongoing, yeah.
No, it's not. It's one of the emergency shelters.
Right.
Set up.
Okay. Okay, that's just helpful to have all that information. Good. Serve, learn, and earn. We have a couple of amounts. We've done that, and they have currently 500 in base. Who has this one? Is this yours, Tom? You're at 500 in base.
So,
Yeah. Or ag, it's either an ag or, I think there's 500, you said there's 500 in base, so this would be additional on top of the base, okay. We know that's. This is the CACFP program and Agency of Education to help fund the sponsors. It's a food program for adults, I just see children and adults. You, Mike, did you want to say something about that?
Yeah, we went through this last year, and it's a program that needs sponsors, and there are fewer and fewer organizations that are able to sponsor. And there are a couple still, and that's what this would help do. It would help facilitate moving a lot of food money out to the
Right. Okay. And then a disabilities housing coordinator, that's not 861. 861 was the ADA coordinator for the state that we just heard this morning.
Yeah.
So
This was in the bill, yeah, I think it, oh no, this is one of the asks, from the disabilities community. Because there isn't anybody at the agency that is actually coordinating disability housing in particular. There isn't somebody who's working with all the other departments to identify funding for and identify partners with, with whom they could work, et cetera.
Right. And this is not emergency housing and homelessness. It's separate from that. This is a lot of adults in our age range have adult children with disabilities and they're very worried about where they are going to be. Right, right. So the notion here is to have a coordinator to help oversee all of that.
People with Down syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
things like that, that the parents can't take. care
That's
of.
right. Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
It's often, people with intellectual disabilities, maybe physical also, but yes, that's what that is. This is also known as slow camp. I don't know that that's a really good acronym for any program, but that's what it is. That's the slow camp. We gave some money in the past for helping loggers comply. And did we hear about that at any of our public hearings? Do we know where this showed up? Because I don't remember actually.
Advocate meeting or one of those. community
Okay, and maybe it was a written
Got a
testimony.
letter.
I think we got a letter.
We got a letter, right?
Yeah, okay.
This has been funded as a one-time,
Yes.
previously, and it's not in the FY 27.
Okay. Right, okay. The flood recovery from the Northeast Kingdom.
So this one, there were a couple of votes just for flood recovery that referenced Representative Wozniak's proposal, and then there was one vote that did specifically mention Northeast Kingdom. I've put them together here because I believe they refer to the same thing, but folks might want to speak to their individual votes. if
And
there's-
Douglas
if it's there.
Farnham is coming in with a proposal
Right.
on money for that does not involve our budget.
Oh, good.
So wouldn't that be happy news? So he's coming in at one for that. Okay, BSAC. I'm sorry Nolan is gone. I think anything with forgivable loans, we may be ending programs and the RHTG is going to be picking up forgivable loans. So we should check on with Nolan on that part. Want to talk to this next one, Viv? Community outreach program.
Yes, well, I think every single city manager, police department, in Chittenden County wrote, a number of us about this cut. It provides community outreach services that are not emergency related. It is about relationships, and developing, the chair, Majority Leader Houghton tells a story about somebody who was kind of camped out behind her florist shop. And clearly homeless, clearly ill, and didn't really require mobile crisis, which really is crisis oriented, but required somebody to connect with this person who could connect them to services, and not frighten them. And at any rate, that is what all of those Chittenden County towns and police departments and fire departments said makes a huge difference in this kind of web of support for people in communities. The Department of Mental Health has said that this is duplicative because of the mobile crisis units, but in fact, this serves a different purpose. And I am a strong proponent, not because I live in Chittenden County, but because I readily recognize that there are, you need kind of a one size doesn't fit all situations. And this is, I think, an important additional resource to have in the community. And all of the towns chip in. It's not like, this is fully funded by the state. This is the municipalities across Chittenden County chip in, but the state commitment helps make it whole.
What do we know what's the whole project work?
I don't actually
How
know
much of the
the
towns chip
total.
in, as an example?
I can find that out. Yeah,
That would find out, because that's the kind of thing where I'm wondering, I mean, I thought it was only 160, and I'm thinking, well, gee, if there's 6 towns involved, they get each chip in,
Yeah.
$30,000 as part of the town budget, and
Yeah.
make it work.
It's-
If
Well,
it's-
I also think that there's a rationale for making a state commitment as well.
Well, I understand that too, but
Because, then we're not clogging emergency departments, or.
But the point is that they're chipping in too, so.
Yes, and
That's what we'll find out.
Yeah,
and that's,
exactly.
that's
what we
a
wanna know.
concern I'm gonna have.
Right.
Yep.
Make sure there is some locals.
Oh, there
Right.
definitely is
Yeah.
that. I'll
Yeah,
get
and
that.
then what I do remember, Representative Bishop came in and said, instead of having 28 of us, I have a letter from all 28.
Right,
to the
right, right.
county. So clearly it's, I know it's been working well. Tom?
And I was just gonna reiterate that or question, is this the program that Bishop came up with?
Yes.
So to have the support, at least folks in the House, the communities affected is
Right.
important.
I even got an email from the new town manager of Milton and former representative minority saying, please keep this in.
Right.
So, yeah, it's definitely, well, but finding out what everybody chips in. Good. Okay, is that one, AAA additional funding, I guess that's over and above the,
There have been requests received through the public hearings for, I believe the original request was $60,000 of additional funding for the area agencies on aging. I don't have more information beyond that. I can see if there's written testimony posted to elaborate a little bit, but folks who submitted this may also be able to speak to it.
okay. And then the LAOB wanted some additional base.
Yes, the Land Access Opportunity Board had requested $104,000 in an additional base this year. They had also requested 1.4 million approximately in one-time funding in FY27. So that these are two suggested additional appropriations to LAOB.
Okay. And the Professional Colors Network, I know Commerce supported that.
That was an appropriation that the administration forgot to put in. It was meant to be put in,
Okay,
but they misread their stack of papers. And so when they were doing the original budgets in October, they had the incorrect information.
okay,
Madam Chair.
great, that's good, yes, ma'am.
I talked with somebody from Commerce over the weekend, and they said that number actually, what is needed is lower than that. So I'll confirm that number.
For the professional color.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be good to know.
Just as an
James
update.
is taking notes on this, that's good, thank you. Okay. Tenant landlord liaisons, that was part of the H772 bill, and it looks like it's the page number sort of showing up there with 260.
Yes. So the two suggestions for this item were 200,000 and 600,000. Currently, H772, as it's before you, proposes $600,000 in funding in FY27 for tenant landlord liaisons. And that would be through the Department of Children and Families as grants to community action agencies.
Remember more about that? Do you remember more about that one?
It's two different things. It's two different things. The 200 was in there just for CBOEO to restart or to recreate a landlord tenant education program. That specific number was used, and I think the 600 was to the CAPS for
Yes.
their liaison program with other.
Yes.
It's not relatively expensive.
Education, right?
200
I think it's-
education.
What's the education
Kind of
proposal?
Education, yeah, and the 600 is the liaisons.
And the liaisons
Two
do
different jobs, they're two different. well,
two different programs.
The CAPS have their own, they have their own tenant landlord relation programs that are different than BSHA or the nonprofit housing. So for instance, here in Central Vermont, Down Street has their own programs of where they work with people, but the CAPS also deal with low-income individuals who are having issues between landlords and tenants.
Okay,
It sounds duplicative, but it's not.
okay. Good, thank you. Sheriff rate increase, there's a couple amounts. Trevor, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I would change that to judiciary, not sheriff. And this is for court security for deputy sheriffs. Now, the reason there's probably a couple numbers of, they had a big ask of 1.9, which was assuming a fairly high hourly rate. I think they had two parts to their request. One was 600,000 and then bigger one was 600,000 is to go from like $50 an hour to 57, which is,
Yeah.
they're losing contracts because they're not paying enough money
Right,
relative to what state government's paying elsewhere.
right,
So I think the more realistic ask here is probably in the 600,000.
600 or so, okay.
And I'll note as well that the sheriffs were provided a rate increase for the services they provide to judiciary in the Budget Adjustment Act for FY 26 as well. I think the Budget Adjustment Act brought that rate up from 53 to 56 or 58,000 maybe. So that will be another decision or qualifier on that decision for you all, that there was one increase that was made through the BAA, which you can all choose to carry forward or not into FY 27. And then the request from the sheriffs routed through judiciary was for an increase to $75 per hour, which would be the $1.9 million ask. So presumably, yeah.
Okay, thank you. The VCRD,
This is the Vermont Council on Rural Development. This was an ask for additional funding for their municipal technical assistance program.
does anybody want to speak to that? Somebody who signed up for that one, about a little bit more what it's about, so we all know?
It's a program that, well, it's out at BCRD, but it was some legislation we had, I think, a year ago, to provide more technical assistance to municipalities about how to thread their way through grant funding and how to thread their way through some of this planning funding that's out there available. And they've been working particularly with small communities that don't have a municipal administrator or anybody, a 3-person select board, and they don't know how to navigate their way through all of these kinds of things. So they've done some work, and they do have a schedule of things that they would like to do. And they have presented in the rural caucus about how they're able to support small communities that need assistance.
And so how is this different than the regional planning commissions doing the same kind of work?
It's similar, however, it's more in because the regional planning commission is the whole region.
Right.
Of course, and it's just a broader group. And I think this particular group tries to work with individual communities more specifically and in areas that the regional planning commission
May not get
time.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
Thank
this
you.
program, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that during COVID, there was a program that was started to go and help small communities figure out how to get the COVID money that was going
That's
to
right.
counties and
Yeah.
communities, and because you get a 3-man select board and town clerk, and there's no one to really.
Right.
So it might be interesting to hear from Doug Farnham how that worked out. Because that was.
Well, you're getting them in here at one, we can, do you remember to ask the question, Lynn? Tom, did you want to add to that?
Same thing.
Okay. Yeah, yes, we did have something, and I think we probably used ARPA money or something for that at the time. Which isn't to say it's not needed, but I think that's where it started, is at that point in time.
And just, the only thing I'll reiterate is that this was a real priority for, the rural, representatives.
Right.
Over time, just
That's
to
right.
make sure that there was some equity and accessibility to, they felt shut out.
Yes,
If they did not have, a way to apply for the grants.
Yeah.
The competitive grants.
sure. Lynn?
I believe the Vermont Council on Rural Development, it's existed for a long time though.
Oh, they have. Paul Costello used to run it. He was, I think, the first executive.
So they do things in the community that's a little different than what.
Yeah, well, I was on the council that they put together that ended up with the working lands. So really, they've been, yeah. They've been around for quite a long time and they're good conveners. Freedom and Unity Scholarships, we know we've gotten a request for 2.3 and change. a little bit of an increase. They used it all last year. I'm looking at a non-general fund source of funds to deal with that. But I think we all know what they are. Okay, and the Governor's Institute is looking for additional funding.
And I think the $39,000 request would represent a 10% increase above the governor's recommended budget. Was the way the request was presented by the Governor's Institute.
Okay. The commission, Mike and I have gotten phone calls at home on the commission.
I have been talking to the commission about how we could use, I mean, obviously, their original request had been for $250,000.
Oh, because it was the 250th.
Well, they had an expansive view of how that could be used, and
I'm
we're
sure.
looking at a more focused approach. But I will say that I wasn't alive for the bicentennial, and I doubt I'm going to be alive for the tricentennial. So we got one shot to do something. One time where this will ever come up.
You weren't alive for bicentennial?
I was not.
I was.
Missed it.
Hey, were we all?
So now we know how young he is.
Yeah.
It brings the average age of the committee down. Him and James, it's great. Yep.
And the intelligence age.
Don't push it, Mike. I'll get a bigger head. Yeah, and I got a call from a member of the commission who, anyway. The numbers have varied, and I think there's still a little bit of carry forward that we found. Maybe the full amount
I'm
is.
still getting the exact amount.
Okay.
It's, yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit lower than what's showing, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. So more to come on that. We are not, why don't we take that line item out? Please, thank you. That's gonna be dealt with elsewhere, so let's not confuse the issue. Thank you. Okay, so we have working lands. DHCB, disabilities housing,
Original ask was 3.
pardon me,
The original ask was 3
for,
for the development of the site.
oh, there was a 3 million, it was 3, okay.
When,
Go ahead, Dave.
when VHCB was here, Gus,
Yeah,
he indicated he had 3 million set aside for this disability housing.
okay,
FYI, I don't know.
okay.
Covered.
You want to check on that? Tiff has got a long list because Ella have questions about her, Tiff. So we'll find out about that.
I just want to say that last year's budget, we did put in language that directed the HCB to do something, to finish the third pilot.
Hmm.
And then they were
Right.
directed to do something and work with the group.
Right, right. So it might already be covered because it may be set aside or not, but that's, we'll find out. Thank you,
Also
Dave.
add that I have in my notes, S328 as a bill that was connected to this request. When this was presented during public hearings, S328 was presented as a potential vehicle for this. I haven't followed that bill closely, but just
To see where
just to add.
B28 is.
And yeah, I have that down as a $3 million item in S328.
Okay, that's where we're getting. See where that bill. Yesterday, it was referred to the Committee on Finance, Senate Finance. So I can check and see what I'll be seeing the chair at lunchtime and I try to ask her what's happening there. Okay, so could you put S328 in that line item for us, please, just as a reminder?
Yes.
Thank you, James. The regional governance studies in 762. I know we've been working on that for a couple of years and we're like the only state in the nation that doesn't have county governance. And are there ways that we can be more efficient and save money in our little town? So we don't need 251 road foremen and snow plows and, are there ways to combine? I think that's what that study is about. So I think this is to finish up the study.
Yeah, I think it's a worthy conversation to have. We ran into issues whenever there's been, from everything is a classic example of, monies nationally get sent to counties.
Right.
And, in our Vermont type wisdom, hundreds of years ago, 250 years ago.
149.
We chose not to have county government, which is always an argument over whether that's a good thing or not, just in the Vermont wisdom kind of way. But I think it's worthy of having a conversation, if for no other reason, think of like when we were withheld money for months because we didn't have an automatic place to send it.
Right, that happened with the ARPA after COVID, remember that? We were all trying to figure out, they were trying to figure out how to do this because there wasn't county government.
And we as a system have been afraid of instituting county government because it's another layer of government. Yeah, it's worthy having the conversation.
Yeah.
More than that, of course, like Franklin County, we figured at St. Albans, get everything.
Well, it's also police, public safety, do we maybe more regionalization.
That's right, sharing of services, like what we're
Water
talking about
and
with
sewer
education.
infrastructure, there's all kinds of things that we can share that would be more practical than trying to do it.
It would save money and be more efficient and maybe people better.
Probably correct, but my whole bunch of people are gonna feel what I articulated was.
I know, but this is paying for study.
I don't.
Reach out mental health contract.
That is very similar to the elder care issue in that this was Department of Mental Health. There was money that Reach Up sent to the Department of Mental Health. There were contracts with DAs and SSAs to provide mental access to more readily provide access to mental health service to folks who are Reach Up eligible. Because the DAs and SSAs were already in contact with them. Otherwise, they would have to, this is a way of making mental health, of making it much easier for folks who are really struggling to get the mental health care that they need immediately rather than waiting for a whole long assessment through their Reach Up work, et cetera. So this was a way to streamline access to mental health services. And, my impression from talking with the Department of Mental Health is that they were asked to hit a number and they just had to make a lot of cuts to a lot of programs. Again, like the elder care, if we pulled back on this, it would affect, I think the number is 400 people that access these mental health services through the DAs and SSAs. Yeah.
Was mental health receiving money from DCF Reach Up
Yes.
the work?
Yes.
So by cutting it, they're not really saving anything, are they? Go back to DCF Reach Up?
Well,
Cut something that they wasn't costing them anything. Am I misconfused?
well, but it was taken out of DCF as well.
I see, so they
Yeah.
took
It was just zero.
money, whatever, to the bottom line. Sorry,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. And DCF supervised visitation funding. Can somebody speak to that? That you again?
We did, yeah. But this is something that I need more information about. We heard about it with Crime Victim Services when they came in to testify. It was brought up, I think, in testimony from the network, domestic and sexual violence. And it concerns visitation, access to child parent visits throughout the state. And I'm not ready to talk about it yet.
Okay.
Because, there's just a little bit of information that I haven't quite gotten from folks.
Okay.
I do have, just briefly,
Go ahead,
some
David.
familiarity with it. When I was an assistant judge, we ran into significant problems, particularly with divorces, of how much time you might get to stay with me and I might get to, and so the judge would request supervised home visits to observe to see how the interaction was going and to make sure everybody was safe. And in our community, there was no one, I don't want to say willing, but able to do that kind of supervision. And in some cases, it is a DCF type situation. You're separated from the family. You might have reintegration, but not until you see how everybody interacts with each other. So it's a real vital cog in the stabilization of families.
And there may be, it has been proposed by Human Services that this could be covered through CHIN's money.
Yeah.
And that's part of the inquiry that I have. I haven't had enough time to chase that piece down.
So this is not visitation in prisons, because that was another.
That was a different, I wondered about
Yeah,
that. That's a different program. Okay. The various arts councils, et cetera, wanted an additional 10% over the governor's recommend. And there was also a couple of them that needed to have a little bit more money to get the 90-10 match, the federal government, and it was kind of an all or nothing. So I maybe focus more on the 90-10 match to make sure everybody gets that, and then we'll see about the rest of it. But those are the two parts of that one. Post-permanency prevention.
That's one of the prevention programs that Human Services recommended not cutting.
Okay.
Like that from Prevent Child Abuse.
Okay.
I just post permanency. Does that mean after you're
Yeah,
permanent?
can you explain what that is?
Can you just give me a minute? I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to look back at my notes.
I don't need it.
But I did track down the community contributions.
Oh, good.
to-
Here you go,
well,
Marty.
I
No
did.
question.
Somebody did. So, so it's covered by DNH, UVM Medical Center, Vermont State Police, and towns for the total of $735K. Program is actually costing $765K, so Howard covers that $30K shortfall. So without DMH, it's a $190K shortfall.
And I also have the House Human Services Committee letter in front of me. You can see
Okay.
to the what they say about the post permanency program.
Yeah.
They describe that as so in the GovRec, it was proposed for a 25% cut to supports for new adoptions and guardianship.
Okay.
And that HHS proposal is to restore funding in full to 293,866.
Okay.
That would be the gross $123,000 general fund for post.
Okay. All right.
So the permanency is when the child is permanently
They're
adopted by
adopted.
somebody, and then they don't want them anymore or whatever, so that's post. Is that what this is?
What's the
So,
post?
so a child is adopted,
Yeah.
the adopted parents along the line have decided they don't want them anymore.
No.
So what's
It
the post?
supports families once they have adopted a
It's a
child.
support system, and I
Right.
think it's also for, not for children.
The title could be better.
Yes, I'm seeing a description that it addresses the issues that adoptive and guardianship families might face as they transition.
Some of the names are,
So it's not very intuitive.
well, like slow cane.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the Office of Child, Youth, Family Advocate made a point in its report this year, which I really commend to everybody, because I think it presents some real opportunities for us and some real warnings. We spend, I can't remember the exacts, but under 5% of our money on prevention at within the DCF system. And Human Services point to me was, we can't cut the only prevention, money that we are spending. And these particular programs, that committee has a lot of confidence in.
See, I don't have a problem. I think it's a good thing, but the problem is, looking at the title, I never would have guessed what it was
Well,
for.
it is a challenging time.
I-
Yeah. I'm not sure where it
I'd be
came from.
glad to talk offline about, it also has to do with the post-adoption agreements where the biological parents have some access even after the termination of parental rights. We can talk about
But when I read that, I would never vote for it, not knowing.
Not knowing what it was, yeah, yeah. They're. Language matters. Confusing. All right, I think we have a better understanding of that, so thank you all. The VHFA down payment assistance for $350. If we accept the miscellaneous tax bill, it's in that bill. Okay, and then we have the American Heart Association. We funded something last year. I thought we funded money for plans, and was it equipment they wanted this year? Or do I have this backwards? Who can talk about that?
There was a bill, I believe, last session that required schools to adopt cardiac emergency response plans.
Right.
There are additionally grant funding up to $10,000 per school through an organization whose name escapes me to get the equipment needed, such as AEDs, to implement these plans. But testimony from the American Heart Association indicated some schools have already used that grant funding this year for other purposes, and so don't have funding available to get AEDs and other needed equipment to comply with these by the end of the 2026 school year, as they're required to do. So this request would be to provide additional funding available to schools so that they can purchase AEDs and such and come into compliance with the plans by the end of the 2026 school year.
So they used some money and now they want more money. I'm a little.
Yes.
This was in the educate miscellaneous ed fund, because if you recall, there was this basketball player from Milton who
Yes.
collapsed on the court and they got him to Boston and he's
Right.
fine. The point is that some schools already had the requisite
Equipment, yeah.
equipment and some didn't. And you need training. You don't need apparently a lot of training, but there is training to use it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they can use it for other things, but that's another story.
Well, some was, why would you pay money to have a plan? I mean, schools plan all the time, so that seems a little. I'm
And then
missing something.
they do wellness, they do lots of stuff. So I don't know exactly what the details are, but there was it was a request for 150.
And the testimony from the American Heart Association says grants up to $10,000 are available via the Vermont School Board's Insurance Trust and can be used to purchase AEDs, but some districts have had to use that funding for other safety needs this year. And so
So they can't get the grant from the School Boards Association, so they're coming.
I've already used that grant funding for other safety needs. And
Right.
I'm just going by what was provided in written testimony, but they
Thank you.
identify those other needs as security cameras, radios, go bags,
Okay,
similar items.
okay. John?
Well, I was just gonna mention, this is an important thing, I think, for our schools here, clearly, but what we don't know is how many have already put those things in place already. So I don't know to what degree that amount,
Well, it
whatever.
sounds like if it's grants are up to 10,000, you'd have 15 schools that could get something.
Which is not a lot.
But I don't know how much so it doesn't go very far.
Well, that would not, right. I'm not sure.
But that wasn't that was what the ask was, I think, was for
150,000.
150.
Right.
Maybe they're doing smaller.
Yeah, and this is for cardiac emergency response, so if we're looking at equipment, an AED is about $10,000, it won't cost that much. And there are opportunities to get those things at a reduced cost here.
Yeah,
Sometimes locally, you
Yeah.
know, our hospital and for the community AEDs, our hospital just bought them for us. So the community has to buy them. The school is a little different story here, perhaps.
yeah,
And the training is not, I do lots of that training. It's not long.
Right.
Training to happen. I've done it.
right.
So it'd be interesting if we could get some sense of how many schools would meet this. I
Yeah,
don't know, maybe it's just too late in the game for that.
yeah.
Also, if they diverted the money to something that it wasn't intended, that's.
I don't think that was what was
I don't
meant.
think
I
that
think
was
it was
the-
used for they prioritized a different safety issue over this particular thing.
Because a lot of schools do have like first aid kits and other kinds of things already. So it wouldn't take long to use up that.
Yeah.
$10,000 perhaps.
Sure.
Which they really need.
Okay.
you know, I'm positive towards that, but just get some more details.
And there is addition, yes, the testimony letter from the American Heart Association provides how they arrived at that number. I can walk the committee through it if you'd like, what they have in their written testimony, or I can email it to the committee so you all have it for your reference, whichever you prefer. Madam Chair.
Why don't you email it to
Sure.
us? Thank you, James. Okay, while you're writing that down, I'll just say we see VHCB. Somebody asked for 40 million, but I see we have, the request by one person coming in and one was 40 million. But this is what the committee has said, anywhere from 2.1 to 2.5 if there's money.
Well, just to be clear, I think, yes, there was a $40 million ask, but they are receiving like 30 some odd
Right.
from the PPT, which is not all housing, of course. It's
Right.
60-40 or 65-35 to
Yeah.
housing conservation issues. And then, but they did request an extra 12 million that I don't recall it, including the 3 million for the IDD.
Yeah.
But anyway, they just,
So that's the difference between the 40 million and this. So the 40 million wasn't 40 million new because some of it was in the governor's recommend. Okay,
40 million is probably total.
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I don't know. what
Another
the-
3 over the 30.
I don't know what the math
Yeah.
would be, but
Yeah.
I just assumed that big ask was staying with PTT.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Primary care inflationary adjustment.
Well, I mean, that was one of my priorities.
Okay.
I'm deeply concerned about primary care. And it is not going to be fundable, as I understand it, to this moment in time, through the rural health transformation. And I don't know about any of you, but I've gotten tons of letters from primary care providers who have, explained the need. Some of this is related to AHEC and some of this is related to inflationary adjustment and primary care, as we've all heard 100 times, one of the best ways to reduce healthcare costs over the long haul. So at any rate, I think that's, the house is burning on that one, and I
Yeah.
it's a fair amount of money, as is, adding in the AHEC stuff, but it's not going to be fundable through rural health transformation, as I currently
Put it
understand
on,
it.
I didn't mean to interrupt, Tiff, I thought,
No.
I'm sorry. I put it on mine too, I think it was 2.01 million, it was general fund matching Medicaid dollars, and it was part of they did a per member per month payment,
That's right.
$4.75 through the ACO. That disappeared, so
Right.
the ACO disappeared, so the money stopped. So it's on my request, I don't know where on this page it is, but
Yeah,
you don't have
it
to.
may be part of that same one.
But I called it something different. That's what
Okay,
I'm trying to say.
all right, we'll look around and see if it's, and is there global commitment allowed in this?
There is global commitment. I don't have it right off my.
Okay,
But there is global commitment.
okay, so
So.
we don't know if
I
that
think
amount is.
my sheet indicates that to James. if there's
Okay.
global commitment.
Okay, so we don't know if the 1.3 million rounding is both or just for general?
No, I think that's one. I mean, they were significant asks.
Yes, there were.
So I picked one, not really knowing which
Okay.
one was better, because
Okay.
depending on who I talked to, they said a different thing. So,
Okay. We'll look into it.
yeah.
Yeah,
But Tiff, I guess I'm confused when you say the rural health transformation will not cover. Are we talking about provider payments for primary care, or you're
Yes,
talking
we are.
about
We are.
scholarship?
Yeah,
provider payments.
provider payments.
There's
Yeah.
there is a limited amount of provider payments eligible
Yeah.
in the rural health transformation grant.
Correct.
And which we heard from Jill Maza Olson, but they have yet to determine with CMS what it can include and who can be included. I think they think it's maybe a maximum of $29 million. I may be remembering the number wrong, but that's the number that sticks in my head, but they haven't figured that part out yet.
but weren't there a couple of projects for like new primary care clinics and new provision of services in rural areas as part of the rural health transformation?
Well, I mean, it's changing every day, right?
Yeah,
And
I
so I don't have the latest and greatest, but
In the corner that could answer that too.
Do we have anybody over here? Yes, introduce yourself and tell us what you know.
Okay, so Jill Sudhoff, Garen, representing the Vermont Medical Society, and as I understand it, with the Rural Health Transformation Program, cannot use it to backfill any current
Right.
budget items. So that's
Right.
one thing. You cannot use it for loan repayment. That's another thing. In terms of the blueprint programs, those have not been finalized by the CMS. And they need to be different programs, right?
Right,
Those
exactly.
cannot be used for any infrastructure, no clinics, nothing like that. So what Tiff was talking about was an inflationary adjustment to get us to where we are with inflation now. You're doing that in here for the DAAs and for other providers. And what Dave was talking about was Dave, all 100 care practices so that helps the bottom line and it has been consistent with the blueprint since around 2003. And that was presented to you by the DEVA as a savings in the budget. It's $2 million state, is $5 million total, so it brings down, so it's really an impactful payment. So I hope.
very much.
Great, thank you. Yes, we definitely clear on some of those and some of the rest of it. Yeah, so we also know back, so you can chat with that maybe. Nolan,
The different apps.
since you're here, yeah,
Sorry, I had one.
that's all right. I'm sure there's a lot, we're all gonna be running this week. Primary care inflationary adjustment of 1.299. Is that the one that has any global commitment attached? If this is an inflationary adjustment, is there global commitment?
Where's that on?
It's up above word page 4, 2 up there.
Okay.
Just to provide some additional detail, I believe this was a request submitted. One of the ways it came to the attention of the committee was a submission through. What's the name? There, give me a moment. There was an organization name that was attached to this request.
Probably the most, so.
But Jill just mentioned something about 2 million would bring down 5 million in global commitment. I don't know what that is either.
In this one, at least in my notes, there's a $1.8 million global commitment to match that 1.3 million.
Okay.
On that piece, and I'm not, I'm not arguing for, this thing, the PM payment increase versus this. I picked one that I'd heard more about, and knowing that we would be talking about all this.
So I'm confused, we're not talking about we're not talking about a primary care inflationary adjustment.
Yes.
If it's, like, I have to get back to you, but this is something that seemed like it would be equal.
Yeah, I have something from somebody that in this pile here that will tell me where that number came from, but I have 1.8 as global commitment for that.
It's little,
But you and I can, and Dave can talk about that more.
I'd like to know how the money flows.
The alternative payment model, Nolan was.
Yeah.
I remember seeing something about the alternative.
2 million, it draws down,
5
growth,
million.
right, growth out 5
yeah,
million.
I'm sure it's not something.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's all double.
we'll keep looking while you're looking. We'll keep going down the. So we had vouchers. Was this in something?
It was in the proposal we got from the DDHI community.
Oh, okay, that's right. And this was rental housing vouchers?
Yeah, this is to support folks when there's housing available. Just as we do for folks who are homeless or folks who have any other particular need, there is a need for this kind of assistance for some of the folks in the developmentally disabled.
Would this be one time or base?
No, well, this would end up being base.
It would have to be if it's housing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like emergency housing. Okay. Recovery centers may come from opioid funds instead. Can't read the numbers.
There was,
700 or 800,000.
we had, I think, 800 in, one time. There's some money in the PDH base for this, and then we had money in one time last year that has gone away. The Human Services did not put it in their opioid settlement request. But there is a need to support the centers, and especially as they're expanding. It's, I think it's recovery residences that are large, that are likely to be funded through rural health transformation, not the centers.
That's right.
Yeah, and so this
This is the one where
This
over
is-
BAA, we had to give more money because the DMH or whoever had not funded them in the way that had been requested.
exactly, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
VCAP, 3 programs.
Yeah, so this was a request that the community action programs submitted as an integrated request for 3 programs combined that they see as complementary to each other. And so they bundled the 3 program requests together. These are assistance programs that provide financial coaching and business development and tax assistance support to individuals. There was one recommendation from a committee member that $500,000 be appropriated just for the micro business component, and a separate recommendation for $900,000 across the 3 programs.
The VITA is in the treasurer's department, and we usually did, it's the tax assistance, right, the VITA thing, but it's run through the treasurer's office. And I know, I thought there was 150, House Ways and Means had recommended, I think it was adding 150 to what was already there. So it was definitely a separate.
I think it's funded through treasurers,
But I think
but it's actually delivered through.
That's right.
Community action.
Right.
folks.
Right.
pass through.
Yeah, so the Office of the State Treasurer's budget includes 400,000 of base funding for this program, and they recommended increasing it by 150, the appropriation to the treasurer by 150, so there would be 550 available. So that's just to separate that out. So we don't just see a $900,000.
Separate those out.
Trevor, judiciary. And the next 2, that and Defender General. Do you want to
There's a
talk
few
about
of them
those?
there, yeah. It's interesting. I wouldn't put this as a high priority, across criminal justice asks.
Okay.
This particular ask, I think, involves like more judicial assistance. There might be an IT person in there. I think there's a sort of mental health program coordinator or some support, that kind of programming. I think if you look at House Judiciary's letter to us, that was in their second tier ask,
Yeah, okay.
that part of it. So I think there are higher needs within criminal justice, just my opinion.
Yeah,
Uh,
and you put them on your list somewhere, didn't you?
I did not put this one on.
No, but you put your other higher
My
ones.
other ones, that other section, right?
Right,
we talk about
Okay.
that separately. But on the Defender General, I would, not say public defender, I would say assigned counsel. Okay, because there are two different budget items there. The original request is 250, so that's half of that request
Okay,
for contracts.
for assigned counsel.
Yeah,
In reviewing their testimony,
conflict counsels, yeah, conflict.
I think that FY 27, the Defender General had sought increases to the third-party contracting line for both public defenders and assigned counsel representatives,
Oh.
and had only received
You're right.
increase to one, and so they're seeking additional funding in third-party contracting for assigned counsel, having received it for.
Right, it's 250 and 250, yeah. They're two different asks.
And I'll just note on the 6 FTEs for judiciary, JFO had a couple of just separate clarificatory items that we discussed with judiciary about their budget requests. And so of the 6 FTEs, I think they had one in particular, mental health and courts director, which is a contracted position. That's a request for $88,000. Part of that position's responsibilities are supporting the accountability courts. And that is, of the 6 positions in our conversations with judiciary, they highlighted that one as of particular interest to them of the 6.
CVOEO day shelter?
No, let's see again. Well, I've received letter from, again, the Burlington Fire Department, the Police Department, Town of Williston, Shelburne, South Burlington, the Fletcher Free Library, Howard Center, and University of Vermont Medical Center, among others. This is the only day shelter in Chittenden County for that serves an average of 131 people a day, where folks can get some food, wound care, referrals, and warmth. Half of them are strictly unsheltered folks, half of the 131. This is one, the Fletcher Free Library Road is one of the only other public spaces in Burlington where people can spend time and use restrooms without spending money. The library relies on the Community Resource Center to help carry the daily load. This was cut from DMH. It wasn't really explained, except that they needed to make cuts. This has been funded through one-times over a number, over several years. They really need 650,000. When I was doing my tallies and trying to hit my 5 million in that section, I could only give 469. I think that this, I mean, I don't know what Chittenden County would do without this resource. Thank you.
We're about to hear a bill, and we've got the folks here. How much more do we have down this list at this point, James? We're into the ones now, right?
Yeah, we have a fair number of items left, but these are our items that received one.
Okay, so I think we're gonna stop here, and I think we'll probably understand what they are. If you have questions, and just check in with one another.
Madam Chair, one thing I would note for the committee's attention before I Chair, is that of these items that received one vote, some of them are related. And so committee members might want to, when we distribute this list to committee members, might want to take a look at this lower end. For example, multiple Vermont legal aid requests that were separated but received one vote. So committee members may want to take a look at that, or multiple Defender General requests. So just flagging that requests that were like kind of separable.
Okay, so thank you, James. Is this something we can send to Autumn? We're not posting this, but we can get copies made for everybody.
Yeah, I'll get out of the chair and I'll have copies made.
That would be great. Okay, and then we'll move on to our next event. Thank you very much. This was very helpful. Thank you, those of us who helped clarify things for us. Okay, we're going to take up the Medicaid. break or pause, please go ahead. You, Jen, here?
Hi.
Looking for Jen Carvey, but she was on the floor, right? Let's go offline for 5 minutes, please.